Want to welcome our staff and residents from out the Brighton area, and also our QP 830 for being here tonight. So I will start off with we acknowledge, appreciate that the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq First Nation, and we have occupied this territory since immemorial. So I have the approval of the agenda, moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Mattard. All in favor? Okay. And Councillor McCabe?
In favor.
Okay. So Councillor Duran called in. He will not be here this evening. Councillor Bernard, I have not heard from him, nor Councillor McKinnon, so they did not call. So discussions, we have the rezoning of Viceroy Avenue, PID numbers 34, 90, 35, and 1179, 82-9. We have David Gundrum, and I believe David is our manager of planning and development, and our director of integrated growth, Mike Russ, and representing the client is Kane Arsenault, APM Commercial, and he's on behalf of Morris Holdings. Go ahead. Do you have the mics work?
Should be.
Yeah, it's not working.
Pardon me?
I don't have it up my, go ahead. Try it now. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to bring something to council's attention. Last night, I attended a meeting that was hosted by QP 830. 5 councillors were in attendance. It was an information session. It was very informative. I'm going to, again, reiterate and recommend that City Council have the opportunity to meet with QP 830 to hear their presentation. It was very professionally done, very informative, and it's not to detract the mandate of the bargaining community or bargaining
Unit.
bargaining unit.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be advantageous, I really do.
Yep.
I think it'd be advantageous for City Council just to have an information session
Yeah.
and hear the presentation that was given last night.
Okay.
So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention.
Thank you, Councillor. Tonight, we're here for a rezoning, and that rezoning is, as I said, rezoning of Viceroy Avenue, PID numbers 34, 90, 35, and 1179, 82-9. I've already introduced the presenters. Again, while we're back into in-person meetings at this time, residents will have the option to participate via Microsoft Teams. The meeting is also live streamed on YouTube, and the video link is www.charlottetown.ca/video. As I said, we have Councillor McCabe calling in, and several councillors not here. I do see one of our planning board members, and that planning board member is Mr. Lee McDonald. So I'm going to turn it now over to the Deputy Mayor to briefly go over the order of events. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just so everyone's clear, we'll start off with the staff will give a brief presentation, and followed by the applicant will then also give a presentation. After those presentations are completed, we'll open the floor up to those folks that are here that would like to seek clarity, ask questions to either the staff or to the applicant. And from there, if there's anybody online, we can open it up to those folks as well. And after that, any counselor that wants to seek any clarity on tonight's presentation can certainly seek that clarity at the same time. And I just remind everyone that Jason will have a timer. Everyone has 5 minutes. So if we can just try and be respectful of that time, get your thoughts and your questions and things all at that same time. So other than that, we just ask for respect and decorum here in the chamber. And also, anyone that doesn't feel like speaking would prefer to send a letter or both, we ask that you get those letters in by tomorrow at noon. So thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to His Worship.
So, sir, if you're looking for a chair, there is one in the other room. You can just go roll. I think it might be a long meeting. Okay, Mr. Gundrum, could you present first?
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. Through Your Worship, members of council, members of the public in attendance this evening, good evening. As the mayor alluded to, this is a request to rezone the identified subject properties identified as PID numbers 349035 and PID number 1179829 from the current single detached residential R1L zone to the low-density residential R2 zone in order to allow for the development of 3 new semi-detached dwellings that would be located across 3 new future lots for a total of 6 new dwelling units. Subject properties are highlighted in red on the air photo on the screen. Just some additional context to the site. The 2 properties are 2 adjacent abutting lots which are registered under separate PID numbers. Subject properties are bounded to the north by Viceroy Avenue, to the south by developed lots which are in the R2 zone as shown in orange, and to the east and west by lots which are already developed in the R1L zone as shown in yellow. The subject properties, as mentioned, are located within the single detached residential R1L zone. They exist within a mature neighborhood and are currently vacant, containing no buildings or structures. Next slide is a site concept plan to illustrate the proposed development of the 6 semi-detached units as submitted by the applicants, showing Viceroy Avenue to the south and the proposed building layouts as shown here. Next slide is a concept rendering, a street view rendering looking from the north to show what the proposed development would look like upon full build-out. As mentioned, the subject properties are vacant interior lots that sit within a mature residential neighborhood, which is centered around an existing public school, which is West Kent Elementary School. Surrounding properties in the area are currently zoned either R1L or R2 and consist of a mixture of single-detached, semi-detached, and duplex dwellings. Just moving on to our legislative requirements under the Zoning and Development Bylaw. As per section 3.10.3 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw, before rezoning any parcel of land, council shall conduct a public meeting to receive the views and opinions of the public and the applicant. Council may, for reasons that are in the best interests of the city, reject a proposed rezoning without public notice and without referring the matter to a public meeting. But if an application does go to a public meeting, then council shall determine the disposition of the application, and the applicant may not be allowed to withdraw the application following the public meeting. Planning staff are of the opinion that the project has merit with sufficient information provided to date by the applicant to allow for the consideration of the proposed rezoning via the public meeting process with council. Next slide, please, Jason. Thank you. So just to summarize our legislative requirements, what's been done to date, on August the 12th, 2025, City Council approved the request to proceed to public consultation. As per section 3.10.4 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw, a mailed notification letter was sent to all owners within 100 meters, 328 feet, a minimum of 7 calendar days prior to the public hearing date of August 28th, 2025, which is this evening. Total of 39 letters were sent to residents advising them of the public meeting to solicit comments and feedback. And as of tonight, to date, a total of 14 written responses have been received from local residents, with 12 expressing opposition to the application and 2 expressing support for the application. Next slide, please. And to conclude, next steps would be, following this evening, would be a recommendation to Planning Board, followed thereafter at a separate meeting of council to consider the application and vote on a decision for the application. So that is a summary of the proposal, and I'll turn it back to your worship to continue the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Arsenault, do you wish to make a presentation, sir? Kane, can you just state your name
Yes.
and other
Is this on?
information? Thank you.
Can you hear me? It's on. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kane Arsenault with APM Commercial. I am here representing Pat Morris and Callie Simmons, otherwise known as the developers, who couldn't be with us this evening as they're traveling. That being said, we'll move forward. This is just a title slide. As David mentioned, we are applying to take two residential lots on Viceroy Avenue and subdivide them into 3 duplex lots. We're also seeking a minor or variance for the backyard setbacks, primarily to maintain and keep the minimum front yard setback and keep the buildings back as far as possible to maintain as many of the trees along the streetscape as possible. The developers did text me last night with a couple notes that they wanted to put on record. They said, please let everyone know that we intend on scaling back the width of each unit for a more appealing streetscape. So when studying these slides that we have here tonight, keep in mind that where you see 10 feet on either side of these buildings, we will be increasing that for a narrower building along the streetscape that's more scalable to the streetscape. This is also our hope that if we can, it'd be more adaptable for possibly adjusting driveway locations in case, a tree were to fall, possibly where we have one. With the buildings narrow in, we can adjust these driveways and possibly maintain even more trees, hopefully. The same slide David showed earlier. This is just, next few slides are kind of putting the whole project into context for the neighborhood. As you can see, our project is along Viceroy Avenue. If you'll notice along Admiral, along pretty much the same width as this development, you'll notice 5 buildings. 3 of them are currently duplex buildings now, with 2 single-family homes for a total of 8 units over the same width as this project that has 3 buildings. This is just down from Viceroy Avenue, showing that there is a mix of use throughout the neighborhood. It's not primarily single-family homes, as it should be. A mix of different typology of homes help a neighborhood. In the rear along Admiral, here are 2 of those duplex I was referring to earlier. The gray one in the rear is currently being significantly renovated by the developers at their own cost to upgrade the streetscape. Here's another one of the duplexes that's in behind, also on Admiral. Here's another duplex on Admiral. Just around the corner, very close by, there's another duplex on Crestwood Avenue. Just down, not too far down the road on Goodwill, there's an 18-unit apartment building. So this just goes to prove there's, again, as I mentioned, different typologies of homes in the neighborhood. And none of these have decreased property value any. None of them have caused any significant traffic concerns. The streets of Brighton are still safe with these developments, and they'll continue to be safe with the proposal we're presenting tonight. These are just some conceptual renderings, and again, keep in mind that the developers have committed to reducing the widths of these, so there will not be as much building as you see it there now. that shouldn't affect our application. Our application is only to rezone, subdivide and rezone these lots. We're not, it's not like it's the 500 lot area where we're under a design review and development agreement here. That being said, moving on, these are just some other views of the development a little closer in a little more detail. The developers are very conscientious about design in their neighborhood. They have a very strong design principle about keeping the classical style and architecture of the neighborhood. You'll drive around Charlottetown, you'll notice a lot of the similarities with these and a lot of the Bowens Blanchard homes. And that's just their style, and they're going to maintain it. It fits with the neighborhood. It's harmonious with the neighborhood. And as I said, if there's again, these are conceptual, but if there's any changes, it's going to be the fact that they're going to get a little bit smaller. So.
Thank you, Mr. Kane.
That being said, I would like to read just a couple policies or passages from our current official plan. It is important to recognize that change which results from economic and social transformation is already having an impact at the neighborhood level. Smaller households, a decrease in family-oriented households, an aging population base, and an increase in the home-based businesses are several factors for some needed flexibility in housing density, design options, permitted uses, and lot sizes within Charlottetown's neighborhood. With some future adjustments in development standards, the city's residential communities will be better able to sustain and diversify household types and lifestyles and continue to be a vibrant place to live. New development, redevelopment, intensification, and changes in land use should not be discouraged, as they can have a positive influence and make significant contributions to the evolution of the area. That's from our current official plan. I take it that's going to proceed to our new official plan with some adjustments that are even a little more progressive. And these apply to all neighborhoods of Charlottetown, including Brighton. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hartzell. We are getting a message from Councillor Bernard. He is trying to sign in, so we'll see what we can do. So the mic is open for the residents. All you'd have to do is state your name, where you live. Doesn't have to be an address, Charlottetown, Stratford, Cornwall, but please provide your name. And Jason here will make sure that it's being recorded. Okay?
Hello, my name is Ian McLeod. I live at 31 Admiral Street. My property backs on the proposed development. I'd like to speak to the motion. First of all, it's good to see some figures finally on the plan that was provided to us, to see that they still need or require some variances at the back. I was also interested in him pointing out that the various duplexes in the neighborhood, I mean, these were there in the 1960s or 50s when Admiral Street and Viceroy Street were developed, and then he showed the large apartment units down on Goodwill, and they were there in the 50s. It was just a redesign, you know, so that really has nothing to do with this development. All those duplexes have side yards. This concept is pretty well almost one continuous building. Anyway, I'm sure that the council is already aware of the current opposition, the affected neighbors and the citizens of the Brighton area through their submitted letters to council now and in the past. Now I'd like to give a brief
Mr. McLeod, it's,
I'd like to
we
give
just
a
have to get it
brief
recorded for
closed
public record.
version of the past history of the subject lands, if I could. In the 1950s, over 70 years ago, Viceroy Street was created. Lands on Admiral Street and the rear lands fronting on the newly created Viceroy Street were owned by the Dennis family. 1960s, West Kent School was built. We'll move up to 1986. Survey of the Dennis rear green space was denied approval to be built on or to be subdivided, given current setbacks and the zoning bylaws. In short, the green space was too narrow to build on. 1986 to 2021, the green space with its canopy of tall trees continued to be undisturbed. In 2021, application by Debbie Dennis to approve 2 large front and rear variances in order to subdivide her property and build 2 double-story houses to build the 2 double-story houses. Strong opposition ensued. 16 letters were given in opposition, and several oral presentations were made, including the current applicant, Pat Morris. The application was rejected by council. In 2024, relief. All of Debbie Dennis's lands were on Admiral Street, and the green space fronting on Viceroy Street was purchased by Pat Morris through his company, Morris Holdings, Inc. Elation. Development, so strongly opposed by Pat Morris and his wife, Callie, would not be allowed on the property as or so we thought. Spring of 2025, shock. For sale signs appeared on the property. August of 25, disappointment. Outrageous, inappropriate proposal presented for approval. A proposal to completely destroy the green space, to make way for a tall, thin, double-story structure of a full 324-foot length on Viceroy Street. With the loss of a canopy of trees, this will loom over Viceroy and the rear 5 lots fronting on Admiral. Concerns? Such a development will be directly across from West Kent School, with tenants or owners backing out onto the already congested street. At the same time, parents are trying to get their kids safely across the street to West Kent School. Councillors, this proposal is wrong in so many levels. Its size and scope match nothing else in our Brighton area. Allowing this would set a very dangerous precedent. The protection of our community green space and the protection of our children is of paramount importance. Perhaps it's time to enter into negotiations with the applicant to keep this property as it always was and should always be a green space. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLeod. Just give it to ID. Chris. Okay. Just introduce, Doctor, could you please introduce yourself,
Yep.
please?
My name is Alice Crook, and I live at 25 Admiral Street. I sent a letter in, I guess it was yesterday, and I just want to read the letter. I have a couple of questions, which perhaps one of these gentlemen can answer. So the first part concerns the reserve request, which, as we've already heard, is for, as we know, it's for a rezoning from low-density residential land use to the R2 zoning requirements. As per the documentation provided in the meeting packages, the proposed structures, if approved, would require further relief from R2 zoning requirements through future variants, as deficiency with respect to rear yard setback would need to be addressed prior to development. So I'm wondering if this is in addition to the variances that were already approved in 2021 when this when the properties were owned by Debbie Dennis, when that came forward. So that's one question about how clear we are on what future variances are going to be required. It's also as was shown on here, the artist rendering shows 5 duplexes, not 3. So I'm curious about that. My other question is kind of similar to what Mr. McLeod was just mentioning, so related to preservation of the tree canopy, or green space as he called it. And just yesterday, Simon Wilmot, who's Charlottetown's Forestry and Environment Officer, was interviewed on Island Morning, and he talked about how essential it is to preserve tree canopy to counter the effects of climate change. He said that preserving areas with mature trees reduces overall heat in the city. And as we all know, we're just coming off a record-breaking summer for heat. So I'm concerned about the loss of mature, healthy trees, of which there are many on this green space, these properties. I counted about 15. I don't know how healthy they all are. So my question is, will the planning board consult with Mr. Wilmot to do a survey of the trees on these properties prior to approval of rezoning with respect to their health and their importance to the city? And my second question, where does preserving tree canopy fit into the city's official plan? Is it just kind of something that's stated but not really given much weight? That's my question. And then the third point, which has already been mentioned, is the significantly increased traffic in the school zone of West Kent Elementary School. There were pedestrian safety and traffic congestion concerns raised during the last variance request in 2021. And at that time, 2 single-family homes were proposed on these designated lots. Now 6 homes are being proposed with driveways in front of them, which will obviously significantly exacerbate these concerns. And we're talking about elementary school-age children, many of whom arrive on foot or on bikes. There's also the buses that go in and out. So if there's anybody who can answer some of those questions, that's my comments. Thank you.
David or Kane, can we just take down those questions and then try to summary them? Okay. Is that all right? What I'm trying to do is just try to get as many speakers up, and they can just take down the questions. Okay. Sir? Oh, she's already submitted her letter with what her questions are there, councillors. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I mean, she's posed a lot of questions. How is she going to find out what the answers are to her questions? Or we're noting the questions, but what's going to happen? How's she going to get the answers to them?
You did send a letter, Doctor, to our planning department and council. David, you've received that letter, correct?
Your worship, that's correct.
And you'll be responding to it?
I could either offer answers if council wants to entertain them now, or we could respond.
I'm just trying to get as many speakers up as possible.
Sure. We can respond separately to Ms. Crook
Yeah.
over email, yeah. Yep.
Councillor Picard?
Thank you. Actually, I feel like we're going off script here. We've been in many meetings like this, and when someone gets up and asks a question, people in attendance answer the questions. I'm not sure why tonight we're moving down a different format. If we're going to be here for 2 hours tonight, we'll be here for 2 hours tonight.
It's just that we're trying to consolidate the questions, so because some of the questions can be repeated or asked by some of the same residents. I think all the
That's happened numerous times.
all the questions will be answered.
I move to have the questions being answered as the people are up at the mic seeking answers.
Councillor Twill.
I have to concur with Councillor Matart, Councillor Beck. I think it's prudent and essential that when questions are being asked, it takes a lot of courage to come to the mic, ask questions. Let's answer the questions now. Our staff are here. they can give the answers, give a clarification, and that way it's better for everyone, including the developer. Let's get the questions answered so that there's no doubt, and let's do it.
Both parties will be answering the question, because I know that the promoter or the developer, Kane Arson representing the developer, will want to answer also. So if you wish to take that route, we can start it right now, Kane. If Kane wishes, or do you want David to start?
I prefer we start with staff.
Well, no, Kane can answer
Okay.
too.
All right.
Okay. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you.
Through your worship, yeah, I'll try to answer any question first as best I can, and if the developer needs to, they can fill in additional details that we're missing. Just to go through Mrs. Crook's questions, and please stop me if I have missed something. The question around relief through variance, additional request, that would be a separate additional request that we'd have to entertain through a separate application. Tonight, it's just what's before council is just a request for rezoning from R1 to R2. The rear yard variance, as far as I'm aware, it would just be one point of relief. That would be for the rear yard setback that we would have to consider. Whether it's 5 or 6 units, I believe those were the numbers. It is a total of 6 units that's being proposed across the combined site. 3 semi-detached dwellings would each has 2 units to itself, so 6 total. And the questions are regarding tree canopy preservation. We do have comments back from Environment and Sustainability. That's Mr. Wilmot's department here at the city, and Jessica's department as well. They have reviewed the proposal, and if memory serves me correct, they didn't identify any triggers in the city's tree preservation bylaw. All of the trees on the combined site are private trees, and none of them would qualify for protection under the tree preservation bylaw, as far as we've been made aware, but we can circle back to Mr. Wilmot's group to get further clarification on that following tonight's meeting. So I'll turn it back to your worship for further discussion.
Mr. Arsenault?
I'll concur with David. However, it was my understanding that the subdivision rezoning and application for rear yard variance were all concurrent. However, apparently that's not the case. In terms of the tree canopy and the discussion here, I'd like to put it on the record that this is not green space. It's not public green space. It's a privately owned piece of property. One comment I did forget to bring up regarding the developer's text to me last night is, she said, "Please make it perfectly clear that we have no intentions of cutting down any trees that are not necessary. We love our neighborhood character, its lush canopy, and its lush canopy as much as anyone." So that being said, if there's a tree that lands in a driveway, there's not much we can do about that. But however, again, as I mentioned earlier, we are doing what we can to reduce the widths of these that will possibly spread out the driveways and make it possible to keep as many trees along Viceroy Avenue as possible.
I know that Dr. Crock raised her hand, so I think we should give her the opportunity to speak. Dr. Crock?
A quick comment that I appreciate that, and I guess I wasn't clear. So when Mr. Wilmot's talking about preserving trees to counteract the heat effect, the city has no say on trees that are on private property. So these properties are private, and so there's just nothing the city can say about that, I guess, is what I'm hearing. So I thought I thought preservation of tree canopy was a public good that planning could have more influence on, or the forestry and environment person could have more influence on. But I'm clearer now, so I appreciate those answers.
David, can you confirm that?
Through your worship, the city, through the tree preservation bylaw, which is under the umbrella of environment sustainability, they only regulate protection of municipally owned trees and/or heritage trees. So the only type of private tree that can possibly be exempt from removal is a heritage tree, and that's a tree having greater than a 1 meter diameter at breast height, there's only a limited number of those in the city. So otherwise, currently, any tree on private property is fair game for removal unless it is a designated heritage tree under that bylaw. So there's no other additional protections currently in bylaw for the city for private trees. So, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Mic's open, sir. Just state your name.
I'd just like to thank council for giving me a couple of minutes here. My name's Craig McPherson. I'm just here representing my mother, Roberta McPherson, who lives at 27 Admiral Street. She couldn't make it here because of mobility issues. I just want to say these two vacant lots have always been green space, across from West Kent Elementary School. They provide shade, natural character, and safety and buffer for the neighborhood. It was nice that we got a bit of history on the use of the green space or the private space. I know that it's been green space forever, and I think that's just because it's too small to actually put a property on or a building on. And the most recent one was in 2021, and it was for 2 detached units, and they just wanted a small variance in the back for the yards, and there was a lot of opposition even just to that because of how close it would infringe, and council denied that back then. So back in 21, this developer applied to build these 2 homes in the same lots. The neighborhood strongly opposed that proposal, and city council rightly denied it, as I said. And since then, the land was sold, and now the new owner seeks to build something even bigger, 3 duplexes now, or 6 units. I just want to outline some of my concerns that me and some of the other neighbors share. I have also talked to quite a few of the people whose children go to school at West Kent, who probably didn't receive letters and are opposed to this idea. The first one is traffic and student safety. West Kent already faces a serious congestion problem at drop-off and at pickup times. Adding 6 extra units is just going to increase the number of cars along with the construction and heighten the risks for children and families walking or cycling along this area. Number 2 is the loss of green space and trees. It's nice to hear from the developer that, of course, they're going to try to preserve as many trees as possible, but it's not possible to preserve the trees when they're directly down the middle of the lot. And there are about 5 really large trees that are going to have to come down just to develop there. After Hurricane Fiona devastated Charlottetown's tree canopy, we lost a lot of trees, and I just think that we should be preserving, the ones that we have, the remaining healthy trees, and not removing them. Number 3 is neighborhood character. Rezoning from R1 to R2 changes the fundamental nature of the residential area. I do agree that there are semi-detached houses in the area, but as Mr. McLeod was saying, they've been there since the 1950s. So having 3 new duplexes just doesn't fit with the surrounding area. The developer will also likely need extra variances, which we've heard, for backyard or side yard space, which means overcrowding, reduced privacy, and an overbuilt streetscape. And I just think this is profit-driven development, of course, right? The proposal is not about meeting a local housing need. It's clearly designed as an income property project at the expense of neighborhood safety, stability, and character. And I would just like to suggest an alternative. I think that there's strong opposition in the neighborhood to this plan, and I think that the area is just too small to develop on. And the developer lives in the neighborhood. And so, if the owner chose not to build and instead donated the land to the school or public schools branch, they could maybe receive a tax receipt for fair market value of the land. The donation would preserve that green space, protect the trees, keep students safe, and send a strong environmental message to those kids while still offering the owner a financial benefit through a charitable tax write-off. So for all these reasons, I just respectfully ask City Council to reject this rezoning and subdivision application. The risks to safety and the environment and the community far outweigh any short-term development gain. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. So there is a response from Mr. Arsenault?
Apparently that's our
the way we're proceeding tonight. In
you.
terms of traffic, I'd like to be honest here. We're not talking about a lot of cars.
Yes, we are. Bill from one end to the other. Every morning, every
12 cars, okay, 12 cars. I'd like to think about, I'd like to look broadly here outside. If you were to drive down North River Road in the morning and pass by Queen Charlotte, North River Road in the morning is probably one of the busiest streets in Charlottetown. They have no issues at Queen Charlotte.
Yeah, no, can we just let him finish, please? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, that may be junior high. I'm sure Councillor Tweel's familiar with St. Jean School. It is an elementary school. It is located on Queen Street, which is another one of the busiest streets in Charlottetown. We have Birchwood. Yes, it's not an elementary school. It's junior high. However, it's on Longworth Avenue. All these schools have excellent school zoning signs. The general public and motorists abide by these signs and these rules, and there's never been any issues to my knowledge. So that's just my take on that. In terms of the comment about corporate greed, I'm very taken aback about that. Over the last 5 years, I've worked with Pat and Callie on numerous projects that they've invested in the city. I've never met two more people that are as generous and community-minded as these two people. From what I understand, when West Kent Elementary was in need of a new basketball court for their principal, Tracy Ellsworth, the developers in this case were approached about helping out. My understanding is that their response to the school was, just build it, send us the bill. These are also two of only a few people that took and spent a lot of time and their own resources on saving Simmons Arena, 100%. If you go to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital and you look on the wall, you're going to notice a placard there with the developers' names on it, and you'll notice the donation they made to the hospital. And these are only three of the ones that I know of. I'm sure there's countless others. So maybe they will. So I'm just saying this is not about money. It's about what makes sense. It's the city's mandate to move forward and provide housing. It's not just for affordable housing. Yes, that's important, but all forms and types of housing are important. How are we going to get doctors, nurses, and other professionals to agree to move to Prince Edward Island and fill the voids of our public sector services without providing quality development in key residential neighborhoods? We can't expect these professionals to be satisfied with mediocre development out in East Royalty and West Royalty. It's shameful what's been allowed out in East Royalty as a way to provide housing. So, anyway, that's my response to those comments.
Thank you. Okay, the mic's open. Okay, guys, excuse me. Ma'am, just make sure you bring down the mic to your,
Thanks.
and just give us your name.
Yeah. My name is Dr. Tess Miller. I'm a resident in the neighborhood. I live at 40 Prince Charles. I've been here before, and I'm really disappointed that I have to be here again. Because yet again, we're turning down or talking about this issue. And it's the same concerns that get raised over and over and over again. So I'm so disappointed that I have to be here, that my neighbors have to be here, that you have to be here to talk about the same thing that we turned down before. Why are we here? So my first question is, why isn't there at least a 10-year moratorium on a decision that gets made at council? Vote it down, it stays until 10 years until we get to vote it, come back to a conversation again. Right? Why don't we have that? How much is it costing you folks, us, to be here tonight? Right? It's too much. This is ridiculous. It's like we keep going around and around in a circle until somebody gets what they want. That's not right. The bottom line, what we see here today, is about the safety of children at West Kent. It is not safe to have more houses and more cars going down there. I can tell you, I drive up and down there several times a day, and many times I have to slam on my brakes because parents or kids are running across that road. Folks, this is a matter of safety. It is safety. And another concern I have is I don't know why this was brought to council. When the diagrams here are not drawn to scale, it's very misleading. There's how many houses are there showing what, 8 or 10? And the scale isn't there. So why am I wasting my time being here when this wasn't good enough for you or for me or for anybody else? Right? We shouldn't be here today. We shouldn't be here on many, many reasons. About the comment of semis, and because there's semis in the neighborhood, it's okay to build 6 more. Right? No, it's not okay. Because those semis in the neighborhood, as was mentioned by my neighbors, have backyards. Their own backyards that don't back on to somebody else's. Right? So why? Why do we have to allow someone to come in and build a large structure on a land that isn't big enough for it in somebody else's backyard? That's not right. Do you want that in your backyard? Nobody does. So why are we here again talking about this? My last point is I think we need to end this. I don't think that the property has to be donated to the school. I think the city should buy it. The city should buy it and put this to rest and leave it as a green space, put a bench, I don't know, but the city should buy it. And let's put this to rest. Thank you.
Thank you. Just state your name, ma'am.
My name is Anita Murphy, and I live on Viceroy Avenue, and I happen to own one of the duplexes that you talked about. I also was an administrator at West Kent School for 15 years. And my children went to West Kent School, and my daughter teaches there now, and my grandchildren, one is going and one will be going. I am deeply concerned, and always have been, and I think I have expressed this concern before to some councillors, to city councillors, about the traffic on Viceroy Avenue. And despite Mr. Kane's remarks about other schools, it's not the same situation. St. Jean's School has about a quarter of the population, and most of the children are pretty close by and walk to school. In the case of West Kent, cars, and more cars every morning and every afternoon, and during the day as well. And it is not safe. I agree with the lady who just spoke before me. It is not safe. It is, it's a disaster waiting to happen. And to add more vehicles and more driveways is just accidents waiting to happen as far as I'm concerned. And I kind of resent the comments about other areas of Charlottetown, like West Royalty or East Royalty. Like, they're nice areas. I have good friends who live there. And I know lots of professional people who live in those areas. And non-professionals. So it's a bit of a slam against some people. And this has nothing to do with the proposal, but there could be another proposal for planning in the neighborhood. And I know there's a large trunk piece of green space on Admiral Street. Be lovely for 3 duplexes. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Any other speakers? Okay, Anita. Thank you, Anita. Okay, come right up, please. Just state your name, please.
My name is Emily McIsaac. I'm also a resident of Viceroy Avenue. I just want to state some reminders about the zoning compliances. So a duplex requires a minimum lot size of 650 square meters for an interior lot with a 22-meter frontage. These parcel lots are nowhere near that. To allow 3 duplexes here would be granting variances that go against the intent of the bylaw. The zoning framework exists to ensure that development is safe, appropriate, and in proportion to the surrounding neighborhood. If we relax these standards here, it sets a precedent for over-intensification on undersized lots everywhere else in the city. We don't want to set that precedent. My other major concern is safety. I have 2 children, one of which attends West Kent at the moment and one that will in the future. This proposal is not just about numbers on a page for me. It's about real people and real risks. So West Kent Elementary already suffers with severe congestion at drop-off and pickup. It is not safe. None of us feel safe dropping our children off without them being supervised. Adding 6 housing units directly opposite the school, we don't see this anywhere else. Directly opposite a school. It means more cars, it means more traffic, it means less room for cars to park, and more opportunities for accidents. And I don't want that to be on any of our heads at the end of the day. It's your role as council to safeguard our children's safety. Approving 6 new units directly across the busiest access point to the school. We're not talking about down the road. We're talking about directly across the street from our school. It would do the exact opposite of what we're trying to do here, which is to safeguard our children's safety. We all know that we need more housing in Charlottetown. We understand that, but we need the right type of housing and the right location. Forcing 6 units onto an undersized lot across from a school, it's not appropriate and it's not safe. I urge you to respect your own zoning bylaws, please, and put children's safety first and protect our neighborhood's character and livability. Please deny this zoning request. This current plan goes beyond what is safe or suitable for this site. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, Yasha Bell. I live in Charlottetown. I work at West Kent School. I'm a lover, not a hater, so I love how everyone's been talking today. I just had a question, whether transportation has been consulted in this, because I do live this every single day, even to the fact that if my kids have an appointment or I have an appointment in the morning and I come late to work, I'm parking on St. Clair. It is very, very congested, even just for parking. We're talking about that. That is where staff park, is on that road. And so for transportation, have they been considered? Also, things might be okay, but even when we get into the winter atmosphere, plowing in that area over the winter is insane. And I know other schools have that issue, and we're talking about having less snow days, but having kids get to school on time and things like that, just a concern about looking at that. So my concerns are very much safety, and they're in relation to people. I don't care, I'll park on St. Clair, but the amount of staff that have to have their eyes on outside at all of these times where these children are coming and going, and are also taking into teaching time, because we love our families, but they're not all on time. And in kind of relation to the connection to the other schools, Queen Charlotte, Birchwood, and St. Jean, those are also all on major roads. We all know what driving is like, and people tend to not pay as much attention when they're going through those side streets. And in a wonderful way that makes our community so special, but also can have some concerns, is it is in a neighborhood. I don't know how many years ago it was, but we were having a lot of issues with people making U-turns after they dropped their children off. That was a huge concern, just making U-turns. We put up a sign, we still have to tell people to stop making U-turns all the time. So anyways, those are my concerns, and those are my questions in relation to talking to transportation and safety, and what kind of procedures happen with that.
Thank you. Any response, Kane? You're good?
No, not other than it sounds like the city should be having a conversation with the province and school board to fix this problem.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay, we'll open it up to council. Councillor Twill.
Just in regards to representative from West Kent School talking with transportation, David, has the Public Works Department been consulted with in terms of the traffic challenge that's been pointed out here at this meeting tonight? Has Public Works, and equally important, has the police department been consulted with as well?
Mr. Gundrum.
Through your worship, Councillor Twill, we do have preliminary comments back from Public Works at this time, but they were promising us to provide some updated comments from their initial response. We don't have any comments back from police services, but we can certainly pursue those ahead of making a recommendation to planning board. We typically don't circulate requests for comments to police except in certain instances, but we can certainly extend that to police. But we do have preliminary comments from Public Works at this time. We do, yeah.
Thank you, David. Just like to make sure there's enough information that's vetted through the planning department, so that you have as much information as possible before you make that recommendation to planning board. These people taking the time to come here and to outline their concerns, and just want to make sure we don't miss anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Beck.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just have a few questions. Keen, I want to go back to a comment you made at the start about one of the first points you made was that Pat and Callie are looking to scale back the project. The units that have been described here are roughly 1,750 square feet each. And they are, as someone alluded to here earlier, seemingly joined at the hip, I guess, if you will. They're kind of next to one another with not much space in between. So my question would be, what would the scale back look like? And what would that we do in terms of a reduction of square footage? And what would that do? You're also talking about how it would more appropriately address the streetscape. What would that do? What would the scale back look like, and how would that make improvements to the streetscape in the neighborhood that you referenced?
Our discussion so far is that, and again, this was at the developer's request, that the widths would be, and scale would be reduced, around 20 to 25%. And so as I alluded to earlier, right now, there's 20 feet between units, so now we'd be looking at, 40, possibly 50 feet between each units, letting in more daylight, scaling down the size. These are two-story homes, they're not towering over anything. There's much larger heritage homes in the city that are twice the scale as this, so. The idea would be, again, 20 to 25% is what the developers have, providing we can provide an appropriate layout that suits, that's the plan so far.
So would that come back with would that be a refined, kind of what Dr. Crooks was saying earlier? We don't really have a scale, we have a kind of a general concept plan. Would that be coming back to us before before it comes back to council? Would that revised plan be coming back for us to look at?
Well, the drawings are to scale. They were developed off a survey plan. So the site plan that I sent David is pretty accurate in terms to inches. So they are to scale. To answer your question, would as I alluded to, this isn't the 500 lot area. So again, our application is to subdivide the properties and rezone them. To my knowledge, there's no policy or bylaw in this neighborhood that says that we need to provide a specific plan to be approved. So, currently the plans are shown with 10-foot setbacks, which is minimum side yard. We're talking about doubling the side yard setbacks now. We're meeting the front yard side back compared to the original application, and as I mentioned, that's to push the buildings back, maintain as many trees on the property. We're really only looking for some the variance and some relief in the rear yard setback. And, I know to some people that they may seem like small backyards, but, not everyone needs or requires a small backyard. Some people prefer, less maintenance. And historically, if you were to drive through Brighton, there's a lot of cases where it was, this is, the original heyday of Brighton, and a lot of Bones Blanchard homes. Actually, one home that comes to mind is on the corner of Green and Lower Malpeque Road. It's one Green Street is a pretty prominent Bones Blanchard home, and if you take a drive by that, the idea is that was pushed.
You mean North River Road?
North River Road. So
Yeah, okay.
sorry, yes.
Right. Dr. Lee's house.
So it was pushed back to maintain a certain streetscape, a certain curb appeal. There might be 10 feet in the back of that, in the back of that home. I'm sure many of you have seen it before and said, "Wow, what a beautiful home." The house next door on the corner of Greenfield and Green, it's the same situation. It actually happened quite a bit on corner lots. And if you drive through the neighborhood, you'll notice a lot of them are, Bones Blanchard homes, and they're pushed back to provide a nice streetscape, but there's very little backyard. And that was just to adapt to changing times. And that's what we're doing here.
Okay.
Dr. Duffy's house would be like that. McGill and Pembroke. That's a Bones Blanchard.
McGill and Pembroke.
Yep. Another question?
Oh, Palmo, okay.
No, Cross Street.
Yeah, so going back to the, and again, this predates my time in council, but decision was made by council, it got overturned by IRAC. And just for a reminder for everybody here, that it was allowed to have 2 R1 units built there, correct? That's what came back as the IRAC ruling. Am I right on that? Just so everyone understands, and before I proceed any further, David?
Mr. Condron?
Through your worship, Councillor Beck, that's correct, yeah. That's
Okay.
my understanding, yeah.
Okay, and I didn't really hear an answer to the original question because I think when that decision came back, there still would have had to have been a variance even on an R1 lot. Couldn't that be Can you provide an answer for that question here for us, David, in terms of what that would look like? If the two R1 lots were maintained, what would still be required in terms of a variance, even if two R1 lots were to be maintained? I think that question was asked earlier, and I don't know if the answer was given, or maybe I missed it.
Through your worship, Councillor Beck, because the properties are rather shallow in terms of their depth, like street front to rear yard to rear lot line, the old concept that I remember seeing, and it predates my time at the city as well, it was calling for two single attached dwellings, one on each lot, that would be basically rotated 90 degrees. So in order to accomplish like a building envelope on each lot, but there was variances required, I believe, for both the rear and the front yard setbacks because the houses would face inward to each other instead of facing the street because of how narrow the lot is, like how shallow the lot is. So each house would have to be rotated 90 degrees so they wouldn't face the street like a regular single detached home would because of the shapes of the lots. So that the variances were required to achieve an actual building envelope on each because you're talking 6 meters cut off from the front and 7.5 meters to the back, so that doesn't leave you much in between. And those variances were for reduced front and rear yard setbacks, if memory serves me correct, so you could actually have a buildable building envelope on each lot for single detached at the time. So that's what that previous concept looked like. It was a single on each of the two lots in the R1, yeah, or R1L rather. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Can we,
You can go ahead if someone else has other questions.
want to go ahead?
Thank you. Just to dovetail on to what Councillor Beck said before I actually go to my comment, and this question is for, through his worship, to David, our manager. When that application went to IRAC and our decision was overturned, was there not an expiration date now that is now null and void, or does that still sit with that existing land that is an as of right now?
Through your worship, Deputy Mayor Yankoff, my understanding is those variances were dealt with in 2021. There is an expiration date in the bylaw that would trigger, so those variances are of no legal force and effect anymore. They're no longer in effect, is my understanding, yeah.
Great, thank you.
They've expired, yeah.
Yep. And so just to follow up on that, it was Dr., and Tess was your first name, but I apologize. Okay, thank you. When you clearly and frustrated for sure, saying, why are we here again? Unfortunately, in our zoning and development bylaw, when applicants apply, whether they're rejected or not, there's that 12-month window where they can continue to reapply every 12 months. However, on a sidebar, if that is something that you find important that should be a longer period of time, I would encourage you to get involved when we make changes to our upcoming zoning and development bylaw in the future. So I just, just as a side note, but I do thank you for your comments. But thanks, I just wanted to explain that. Thank you.
Councillor Beck?
I just want to go back to one of the letters that we received in the package, just prompted a question, and it was a question in support of the project, but it was, I'm supportive of it as long as the units are either for purchase or for long-term rental. Can you state what the intent is of those for that person that asked that question, Kane? What the intent is for the
It
units?
would be either for purchase or long-term rental.
Either one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor McAleer?
Just for clarity, if, this I guess to manager Dave Gundrum, if the developer got where he is seeking to get, and this was approved, then we're talking about consolidating two lots for 3 potential duplexes, then would that then end up with, there'd be 3 separate PIDs?
Through your worship, Councillor McAleer, that's my understanding, that the lot, should the rezoning be successful and then the developer proceeds along the line, they'd have to readjust the lot lines to basically consolidate and then split that unified lot into 3 new lots. And my understanding is that the registry office would assign a new PID to each of those lots, yeah.
Any closing arguments for or against? Julie? Councillor McKay?
Say one thing, if I could.
Can I just say that we allow one time to speak, but if
Okay.
council wishes him to speak again? Go ahead, Mr. McLeod, and then Councillor McCabe is next.
Okay, I would just ask the councillors to, I submitted my letter to council and attached a letter from Callie Simmons, the wife of Pat Morris, and I'd like you to make sure you read through that and see what her views in 2021 against the proposal of the prior applicant, Debbie Dennis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLeod. Councillor McCabe? Councillor McCabe? No? Okay. Well, I thank you for coming to the meeting. And David, the deputy, what's the process? This goes back to?
I'm sorry, Julie says she's just not being heard. She was trying to speak.
Okay, well, the mic's open. Can you hear us, Councillor McCabe?
Oh, no, she says.
Okay. Okay. So, anything to wrap up there, Deputy, on this matter?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a reminder that any other folks that want to submit letters of either, for any reason, we encourage you to try and get those letters in by tomorrow noon, email or drop off to the department just down around the corner on Kent Street. So that's about it. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Ramsey.
Yeah, and so this process goes back to planning with all the letters for and against, and then planning decides, and then they come back to us. Am I correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Just want to clarify that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Beck?
Just one last question for Keen. Keen, on how many parking spots, how many cars can fit in the parking spots? 1 per unit? Is that what it is?
Based on the site layout, yes, there'll be one car
Space for 1 car per unit?
within the property boundary, yep,
Okay, thank you.
single driveway.
Deputy?
And thanks.
That could possibly change since we are reducing the widths. We were a bit restricted at the time because I had planned them so wide and the driveways were close. Now that we're, possibly reducing the width of each unit by 10 feet, that may give us the ability to come in off the street and widen that out so that there's a bit more parking available.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy, want to wrap it up?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to clarify the next steps. And just so no one's confused, this doesn't go back to planning board yet. This goes back to the planning and heritage staff, where they will evaluate now the complete application based on comments, public works, and protective services, and the different comments that were made this evening. Then that will return to planning board, where the planning board will hear the planning staff's recommendation. Planning board will have the option to either accept or reject staff's recommendation it still then continues on to council, and council makes that final decision. And I would anticipate that council would be making that decision at our next monthly meeting of council, second Tuesday in September.
Will we that quick, David? The quick turnaround?
Through your worship, that all depends on getting resolution on comments from some other departments. So it's possible, but I'm not going to promise it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And so if not, then it would be at our special meeting of council.
Fourth Tuesday.
Fourth Tuesday of September. So it's one or the other. Yeah.
And the planning board meeting is open to the public, correct?
Through your worship, yeah, it is an open meeting that anyone can attend, yeah.
And the discussion's on?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much, neighbors from Viceroy and area. Thank you. Okay, introduction of new business. Done? Motion to adjourn. Okay, thank you kindly.